You thought you knew love. You thought you knew yourself. And then it shattered. The relationship you invested in, the future you planned, the person you believed in, gone. And now you're here, awake at night, replaying moments, questioning everything, wondering how you could have been so blind, how you missed the signs, how you gave so much to someone who could walk away. But what if I told you that this shattering, this breaking open of your heart is not the end of your story, but the beginning? What if the universe didn't betray you when it took away what you loved, but instead gave you the greatest gift a woman can receive: clear vision, the ability to finally see yourself, others, and life as they truly are? Friedrich Nietzsche, one of history's most misunderstood philosophers, wrote something profound. To live is to suffer. To survive is to find some meaning in the suffering. But what he understood, what so few teach women, is that heartbreak carries a hidden power, a power that society doesn't want you to claim, because a woman who sees clearly becomes impossible to manipulate, impossible to reduce, impossible to control. Today we're going to explore why your broken heart might be the very thing that finally sets you free. Before Nietzsche became the philosopher we know today, he experienced his own devastating heartbreak. His proposal to a woman named Lou Salome was rejected, plunging him into despair. Yet from this personal anguish emerged some of his most profound insights about suffering and transformation. At the core of Nietzsche's philosophy is a concept known as amor fati, the love of fate. Not just accepting what happens to you, but embracing it, loving it, even the painful parts, especially the painful parts, because these are the very experiences that forge who you are becoming. For women, this message carries particular significance. We're conditioned from childhood to seek external validation, to measure our worth through others' eyes, to believe that love from another completes us. When that external source vanishes, we are left facing a terrifying question: who am I without this relationship? This is precisely where Nietzsche's wisdom becomes revolutionary for women. He wrote, "The snake which cannot cast its skin has to die." As well, the minds which are prevented from changing their opinions, they cease to be mind. Your heartbreak is not just an ending. It's the shedding of a skin that no longer fits who you're becoming. It's the necessary catalyst for a woman to transform. But transformation is never comfortable. It's not meant to be. The caterpillar doesn't gently evolve into a butterfly. It dissolves completely in the chrysalis before reforming into something new. Something with wings. Today, we'll explore how to navigate this dissolution with courage and how to recognize the wings that are forming within you now. Let's face a difficult truth. Most women are taught a dangerous fairy tale, that romantic love should complete us, that finding the one will make us whole, that a partner should fulfill our unmet needs and heal our wounds. Nietzsche called this romantic idealism, and he saw it as a beautiful lie that eventually leads to crushing disappointment. In Thus Spoke Zarathustra, he writes, "There is always some madness in love, but there is also always some reason in madness. The madness is believing another person can save us from ourselves. The reason is that this belief reveals our deepest yearnings for connection and meaning." When you look at your heartbreak honestly, what was the fantasy you were living in? What were you hoping this person would provide that, in truth, you need to cultivate within yourself? Perhaps you believed they would be your protector, your validator, your purpose. Perhaps you thought their love made you worthy, made you enough, made you safe. These aren't shameful desires, they're deeply human, but placing them in the hands of another person creates a dependency that leaves you vulnerable to devastation when they leave, as all externals eventually do. Nietzsche understood that human beings are fundamentally unreliable, not because they're malicious, but because they're human, changing, evolving, struggling with their own demons. When we stake our wholeness on their constancy, we build our house on shifting sand. Look at the women around you who appear unbreakable. They're not women who've never been hurt. They're women who've stopped expecting others to be their foundation. They've become their own foundation. The first gift of heartbreak is seeing through the romantic ideal. It's painful, yes, but this disillusionment is also liberation. It's the beginning of standing on your own ground. I am a forest and a night of dark trees, but he who is not afraid of my darkness will find banks full of roses under my cypresses. This is how Nietzsche described the process of moving through pain toward beauty. He called it creative destruction, the necessary demolition that precedes all creation. For women especially, heartbreak demolishes the false identities we adopt in relationships. The accommodator, the fixer, the emotional caretaker, the one who makes herself smaller to make him feel bigger. As these identities crumble, there's a terrifying emptiness. Who am I if not the woman who revolves around his needs? Who am I if not the supportive partner, the understanding girlfriend, the patient wife? This void feels like death, and in many ways it is. But Nietzsche would tell you it's a necessary death. The snake, which cannot cast its skin, has to die. These false selves must die for your authentic self to emerge. Think about who you were before this relationship. What dreams did you set aside? What boundaries did you erase? What parts of yourself did you silence to maintain harmony? Now think about who you might become if you reclaimed all of those parts and strengthened them. This is the paradox of heartbreak for women. The very experience that breaks you is the one that can make you more whole than you've ever been. I want you to consider something radical. What if your heartbreak wasn't a mistake, but a beckoning? What if this pain isn't punishment, but awakening? Nietzsche's most famous quote may be, "That which does not kill us makes us stronger." But the full meaning isn't about mere resilience, it's about transformation. You don't just survive heartbreak, you alchemize it. You turn lead into gold. What would it mean to transmute this pain into your power? To use this breaking open to grow into a woman who is no longer defined by how others see her, but by how clearly she sees herself. Nietzsche didn't just philosophize about suffering, he lived with it. Chronic pain, isolation, rejection, and yet, from this suffering emerged revolutionary ideas that would transform Western philosophy. He offers us 3 essential insights for navigating the aftermath of heartbreak. First, say yes to life. Not just to the pleasant parts, but to all of it. The betrayal, the abandonment, the humiliation, the grief. Say yes, not because it feels good, but because these experiences are shaping you into a woman of depth and wisdom. Ask yourself, what has this heartbreak taught you about your own strength, about your resilience, about your capacity to feel deeply and still continue? These aren't small revelations, they're the foundation of a powerful life. Second, create meaning from your suffering. Nietzsche wrote, He who has a why to live for can bear almost any how. Your heartbreak feels unbearable when it seems senseless, random, cruel, without purpose. But you can assign it purpose. You can decide that this experience will make you more compassionate, not bitter, more authentic, not guarded, more discerning about who deserves your heart, not closed to love altogether. And third, embrace becoming over being. Nietzsche rejected the idea of a fixed self. Instead, he saw humans as constantly evolving. You are not merely what your heartbreak made you. You are what you are becoming through it. Right now, in this painful space, you're being forged. The heat is necessary for the metal to become malleable enough to reshape. What feels like destruction is actually creation in progress. Every woman who has ever risen from the ashes of a devastating loss has walked this path. They didn't avoid the pain. They moved through it. They allowed it to transform them. There are no beautiful surfaces without a terrible depth. This insight from Nietzsche perfectly captures the gift that emerges from heartbreak. Clear vision, the ability to see beyond surfaces, beyond words, beyond promises, to the depth of what is real. Before your heart broke, you saw what you wanted to see, what you needed to see, the version of reality that felt comfortable, that aligned with your hopes. But now you see with eyes that have wept, eyes that can no longer be deceived by pretty illusions. You see patterns, red flags, inconsistencies between words and actions, not just in romantic relationships, but in every area of life. This clarity is your superpower, the superpower of a woman who has survived the dissolution of what she thought was certain. With this clear vision, you'll begin to see yourself differently too. Not as someone who was left, but as someone who is found. Not as a woman who wasn't enough, but as a woman who is becoming too much for the wrong people and precisely enough for the right ones. You'll see relationships not as the center of your existence, but as additions to a life already rich with meaning and purpose. You'll recognize that the capacity to feel deeply, even to feel heartbreak deeply, is not weakness. It's courage. The courage to remain open in a world that tempts you to close. Friedrich Nietzsche tells us, "You must have chaos within you to give birth to a dancing star." Your heartbreak is that chaos, and from it, something brilliant is being born. A woman who no longer abandons herself to be chosen by others. A woman who no longer needs constant validation to know her worth. A woman who can stand in her truth, even when standing alone. A woman with vision so clear that nothing less than what truly honors her soul will ever be acceptable again. This is your becoming. This is your rising. And if you feel this transformation beginning within you, share your experience in the comments. What has heartbreak made clear for you? What are you seeing now that you couldn't see before? Subscribe to Artemis Rising for more philosophical insights for women who are ready to see clearly and live powerfully. Remember, when your heart breaks, your vision clears. And a woman who sees clearly becomes unstoppable.